Good morning students. Today we are going to discuss about our third chapter, that is chemical messages for homeostasis. What is it? Chemical messages for homeostasis. So in this chapter you have to study about, mainly you have to study about endocrine system. You have to study about endocrine system, then different endocrine glands are there, endocrine glands you have to study. Then you have to study about different types of hormones. Then in addition to this, role of hormones and certain disorders associated with hormones. Disorders of hormones, that also you have to study there. Then chemical messages for communication. Chemical messages for communication. Chemical messages for communication. Then finally you have to study about plant growth regulators. Plant growth regulators or plant hormones, that also you have to study. So what are the topics mentioned here? That is first one, endocrine system you have to study. Then endocrine glands are there. Then different types of hormones. And fourth one, role of hormones. Then fifth one, some disorders associated with this hormone. And sixth one, chemical messages for communication. And seventh one, plant growth regulators. So let us move to our first topic, that is endocrine system. So what is endocrine system? That we have to discuss first. What is endocrine system? Actually, this endocrine system includes two parts, that is endocrine glands plus hormones. Endocrine glands plus hormones. So endocrine system includes, there are two regions, that is endocrine glands and endocrine hormones. So what is this? What are these endocrine glands? What are endocrine glands? Actually, endocrine glands are generally called ductless glands. They are called ductless glands. These are called ductless glands, and they secrete a substance known as hormone. Okay, so what are endocrine glands? Endocrine glands are ductless glands. It produces hormones. Why they are called ductless glands? Why they are called ductless glands? Suppose if you consider any gland, you can see some storage space or certain sac-like structures are there. That is duct. Duct means a storage space. But in the case of endocrine glands, duct is absent, that is storage space is absent. Usually if you consider any gland, there will be some storage space, then there will be some special vessels or tubes in order to transport its secretions or the chemical or whatever the substance secreted by the gland. But in the case of ductless glands or endocrine glands, there is no storage space. Then what they are doing? They release their substances. They release their substances, that is mainly hormone, directly to blood. They release the substance directly to blood. Okay, have you understood what is endocrine gland? Endocrine glands are ductless glands. They secrete hormones. Mainly they release hormones to blood. So blood will transport these substances, that is mainly hormones, to various parts of our body. Now let us write some examples for endocrine gland. So what are the examples? Can you find some example for endocrine glands? For example, you can write pancreas is there. Pancreas is there. Then different types of glands. For example, then salivary glands are there. Salivary glands. Then you can write testis. Then thyroid gland is there. Thyroid gland is there. So these are some examples for endocrine glands. So what are endocrine glands? These are ductless glands which secrete hormones directly to blood. So there is no special transport system, or there is no sacs present in this endocrine gland. Now let us discuss what are hormones. What are hormones that we have to study now. What are hormones? You may be knowing what are hormones. These are secreted by endocrine glands. These are secreted by endocrine glands. These are secreted by endocrine glands. That is, hormones are substances. They are secreted by endocrine glands. In other way, we can write they are chemical substances. They are chemical substances. They are chemical substances produced by endocrine glands. And it control, what is the role? It control growth and development. It control growth, development of our body parts. Okay. So what is the function of hormone? To control growth and development of our body parts. In other way, we can write it control cellular activities. It control cellular activities. So what are hormones? Hormones are chemical substances. They are produced by endocrine glands to control growth and development of our body, or it control cellular activities, all the cellular activities that takes place in our body. So can you find some examples for hormone? For example, we can write progesterone. Progesterone is there, it's a hormone. Then estrogen is there. Then thyroxine is there, calcitonin is there. Then there are different types of hormones produced in our body. Now let us discuss how these hormones act in our body. We are discussing about the endocrine system. Just remember that topic. We are discussing about the endocrine system. Here we are to study about endocrine glands and the substances, that is the chemical substance. It is called hormones. Okay. Now let us discuss hormones in target cell. Hormones in target cell. Then you may be having some doubt. What is it? So there are different types of glands. There are different types of endocrine glands. So many endocrine glands are there. Many hormones will be present. So many hormones will be present in our body, isn't it? There are many endocrine glands. Then there will be many hormones present in our body. Okay. We already discussed that there is no special vessels or tubes to transport its secretion. Actually, hormones are getting mixed with blood, and blood will transport these substances to our various body parts. So our blood contains many hormones. Okay, our blood contains, a human being blood contains many hormones. And how these hormones act? How these hormones act on a specific site, or how it works, that we have to discuss. Okay. What are hormones? Hormones are chemical substances released by endocrine glands. Just remember it. Okay. Now let us discuss how these hormones act. Okay. Can you read this? Hormones in target cell. Hormones in target cell. Actually, here we are discussing how these hormones act on cell. Then what is target cell? What is target cell? Target cell is nothing but the cells on which these hormones act. Okay. What is target cell? Cells on which hormones act. Okay. Cells on which hormones act. It is called target cell. That means each hormone has a target cell. Each hormone has a target cell, and that particular hormone act on that target cell. Okay. So there will be many glands present, many endocrine glands will be there. There will be so many endocrine glands will be there. They will secrete its hormones. Many hormones will be present in our body. Our doubt is how these hormones act. Okay. So there will be many hormones. So each hormone has a target cell, or we can cell, there will be specific receptor for hormone. Okay, so each hormone has a specific receptor. So what are receptors that we already discussed? What are receptors? Receptors are special cells present in our body parts. They receive stimuli, isn't it? That we already discussed. Okay, so what are specific receptor that we discussed? Okay, so each hormone has a specific receptor and these hormones act on that specific receptor. Okay, that means each hormone has a binding site. Target cells are there. Each hormone has its own target cell. For example, consider hormone A, hormone B, then hormone C. Like that, there are many hormones. Just for an example I am taking. So hormone A can act on a site, that is a target cell, a cell with a hormone A receptor. Hormone A receptor. This A hormone act on this particular cell only. There will be hormone B. So hormone B also have a target cell, that is B target cell, and a specific receptor for hormone B. Similarly, C also have, same way C also have a target cell. So there will be many target cells present. Each hormone works only on a particular target cell. It doesn't mean A hormone act on B target cell or C target cell. No. So there will be a special receptor, there will be a special target cell. There only each hormone act. In order to understand that, so there is a chart mentioned here. Can you see this chart? There is a chart. What is it? Hormones in target cell. That is hormone activity mentioned in the form of a flow chart. Can you see this? Let's read it. What are the points mentioned here? Cells with a specific receptor. Okay. First you can see cells with a specific receptor. In second column, second point you can read. What is it? Hormones binds with the receptor. And third one, hormone receptor complex. Then fourth one, enzymes are activated. And finally, there will be changes in cellular activity. So it represents how hormones act in target cell. How hormones act in target cell. First you can read, what is it? Cells with a specific receptor. That is, each hormone has a specific receptor or target cell. There only that hormone works. Then when a hormone reaches a specific receptor, what happens? Hormones binds with the receptor. Okay. The second activity, what is it? Hormones. When a hormone finds a specific receptor, what happens? Hormone binds with the cell or target cell, that is target cell with a specific receptor. Then finally what happens? Hormone receptor complex is formed. Okay. Hormone receptor complex is formed. How it is formed? First, the hormone cells with a specific receptor are there in our body. Then hormones will reach this, they will find this specific receptor and they will bind with the receptor. And the third step you can write, what is it? Hormone receptor complex is formed. So first a hormone find a specific receptor or target cell, then it bind with it, then it will form a complex called hormone receptor complex. Then similarly enzymes are activated. So after the formation of hormone receptor complex, so there will be some changes occurring in our body. You may be studied, you may be heard in earlier classes that usually hormone will control our cellular activities or different functions of our body. How it is possible, that is also mentioned in here that you can study. So there is a formation of a hormone receptor complex. Then after the formation of hormone receptor complex, enzymes are produced. Okay. So this hormone receptor complex, they will form enzyme. That is, enzymes are activated. Okay. Enzymes are activated. Then these enzymes make changes in cellular activity. So after the formation of hormone receptor complex, there is a formation of a enzyme and these enzymes are activated. At the same time, time what happens? There will be changes in our cellular activity. So in this way a hormone works in our body. Okay, so there are different types of hormone, different endocrine glands are there. Then this chart shows how it works in our body. Okay, have you understood? So what is the first step? Hormone find a cells, that is receptor cell, then it bind with it, then it will form a hormone receptor complex, then there is a production of enzyme, then after what happens? There is changes in our cellular activity. So similarly our body functions or different functions of our cells changes according to the enzymes produced by this hormone receptor complex. Now we have to discuss about different endocrine glands and what are the hormones secreted by them, then what are the disorders associated with these hormones, that we have to study now. So endocrine glands, have you understood what are endocrine glands? These are ductless glands. It produce hormones. Why they are called ductless glands? Because there is no storage space, there is no storage sac, and there is no transport system. Okay, usually it transport directly, it releases its components or hormones directly to blood, and blood will transport these substances to various parts of our body. Our first endocrine glands, let us move to our first endocrine glands, that is pancreas. First endocrine gland, that is pancreas. Have you heard about pancreas? Okay, pancreas. First endocrine gland is pancreas. Where it is found? Pancreas, where it is found? It is a part of a digestive system. You maybe studied this topic in earlier classes, that is in 8th standard or 9th standard. You maybe heard this topic, that is it's a part of a digestive system. Okay, it is a part of a digestive system. In digestive system, where these glands present? Where this gland present? It is a continuation of duodenum. Have you heard duodenum? Duodenum. It's a continuation of duodenum. Duodenum is mentioned in digestive system that you already studied in 9th standard. It's a part, that is a continuous part of stomach. So after stomach you can mark duodenum. Okay, that is the beginning of our intestine and all. After stomach opens to a region called duodenum. So this pancreas is connected to duodenum. Pancreas is connected to a part of our digestive system. It is called duodenum. Then inside this pancreas there are a group of cells. Inside the pancreas there are a group of cells. They are called islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans. What is it? Islets of Langerhans. So inside pancreas it is an important endocrine gland. So there are a group of cells, they are commonly called islets of Langerhans. Okay, what is it? Islets of Langerhans. It is nothing but a group of cells which is present in pancreas. Okay, inside the group of cells there are different types of cells. One is called alpha cell. First one is called alpha cell and second one is called beta cell. Okay, what is it? First one is called alpha cell and second one is called beta cell. Okay, there are different types of cells. Actually a group of cells present, it is called islets of Langerhans, and there are two types. Okay, alpha cell, first one is called alpha cell and second one is called beta cell. Now let us discuss what is the function of alpha cell and what is the function of beta cell. Alpha cells produce a hormone called glucagon. Okay, alpha cells produce a hormone called glucagon and beta cells produce a hormone called insulin. Okay, so there are two hormones produced by alpha cells and beta cells. Alpha cells produce a hormone called glucagon and beta cells produce a hormone called insulin. Now we have to discuss what is the function of this glucagon and what is the function of this beta cells or insulin. Okay, what will be the function of glucagon? That we have to discuss first. Glucagon. Okay, it is a hormone secreted by alpha cell. Glucagon, it convert glycogen to glucose. To convert glycogen to glucose. So what is the function of glucagon? First function, to convert glycogen to glucose and synthesis of glucose from amino acid, glucose synthesis. So there are two functions performed by glucagon. What is glucagon? It is a hormone secreted by alpha cell. Where it is present? It is present inside the pancreas. That is, there are a group of cells, they are called islets of Langerhans. Inside these islets of Langerhans, there are two types of cells, alpha cell and beta cell. Alpha cell produce a hormone called glucagon. What are the functions performed by glucagon? First function you can write, it convert glycogen to glucose. What is it? It convert glycogen to glucose. And second function you can write there, what is it? Glucose synthesis. That is mainly from amino acids. Okay, they join amino acid and by using amino acids they synthesize glucose. Okay, that is the main function performed by glucagon. What are they? Glycogen is converted to glucose and synthesis of glucose from amino acids. Now there is another cell. It is called insulin, isn't it? So there are different types of cells. The first one alpha cell and second one is called insulin. So what are the functions performed by insulin? So what is the function performed by insulin? Here we can see glycogen is converted to glucose, but in the case of insulin, glucose is converted to glycogen. Glucose is converted to glycogen. Okay. First function you can write there, glucose is converted to glycogen. That is first function of our hormone. What is it? Insulin. Okay, insulin convert glucose to glycogen. That is mainly in some tissues like muscle cells. Then in addition to muscle cells, it can convert in liver. Okay, inside the liver and muscle cell, glucose is converted to glycogen. Then cellular uptake of glucose. So there are two functions performed by insulin. What are they? Glucose is converted to glycogen. That is mainly taking place in muscle cells and liver cells. Then cellular uptake of glucose. So these are the two functions performed by insulin. Okay. So there are two types of cell, alpha cell and beta cell. Alpha cell produce a hormone called glucagon and beta cell produce a hormone called insulin. So what is the function of insulin? It converts glucose to glycogen. That is mainly in muscle cell and liver cells. Then cellular uptake of glucose. So these are the functions performed by insulin. Now let us discuss what happens is level of glucose increases in blood. What happens if level of glucose increases in our blood? We have to discuss the disorders or some problems associated with these hormones. That also we have to study. So let us discuss what happens if the level of glucose increases. Level of glucose increases in blood. What happens if the level of glucose increases? That is decreased production of hormone insulin. Okay, decreased production of hormone insulin. Level of glucose in blood. What's the normal level of glucose in blood? Usually it is 70 to 110 milligram per 100 ml of blood. Okay, what is the normal range of glucose? That is 70 to 110 milligram per 100 ml of blood. If you take 100 ml of blood, there will be 70 to 110 milligram of glucose in our blood. That is a normal range. Now we have to discuss what happens if the level of glucose increases in our blood. That is decreased production of hormone insulin. Okay, so there are some disorders associated with insulin. So there are some disorders associated with insulin. What is it condition called? That condition is called diabetes. Okay, so there is a condition, there is a disorder associated with insulin, that is decreased production of insulin. Okay, that condition is called diabetes. So there are two reasons for diabetes. There are two reasons for diabetes. So what are the two reasons? So first you can write destruction of beta cells. Destruction of beta cells in pancreas. Destruction means damage. Okay, damage of beta cells in pancreas. Or there is a second reason, cells cannot utilize insulin properly. Okay, cells cannot utilize insulin properly. So there are two reasons for diabetes. What are they? So first, there is a destruction of a beta cell, and second point, cells cannot utilize insulin properly. So as a result, there will be increase in level of the glucose. Okay, usually the point above the 120 or 140 we generally mention it as a diabetes. Okay, so this it's a disorder associated with decreased production of insulin. So there are two reasons for diabetes. Maybe due to destruction of beta cells, or it may be due to cellular uptake. Okay, cellular uptake of insulin does not taking place. So similarly, in this way there is a problem that is called diabetes. Now we can classify diabetes into two types. So there are two types of diabetes. So first one is called type 1 diabetes. First one is called type 1 diabetes, and second one is called type 2 diabetes. So there are two types of diabetes. Actually, what is diabetes? It's a disorder associated with decreased production of insulin. There are two reasons behind this: destruction of beta cells, or cells cannot utilize insulin properly. Okay, so we can classify diabetes into two types. So type 1 and second one type 2. Type 1 diabetes is associated with destruction of beta cells. Okay, so there will be type 1 diabetes. The reason is destruction of beta cells. And in the case of type 2 diabetes, cells cannot utilize insulin properly. As a result, blood glucose level increases, and this excess of glucose is released or removed through urine. Okay, excess glucose, if it is present in our blood, what happens? The level of glucose in our urine increases rapidly. Okay, level of glucose in our urine increases rapidly. So that condition is known as diabetes. So there are two types of diabetes. First one is called type 1 diabetes, and second one is called type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is due to destruction of beta cell, and type 2 diabetes is due to cells cannot utilize insulin properly. Okay, so there are two types of diabetes. And according to World Health Organization, okay, according to World Health Organization, you may be heard WHO, okay, World Health Organization, November 14 is generally observed as World Diabetes Day. World Diabetes Day, generally observed as a World Diabetes Day. Generally it is observed as a World Diabetes Day. When is our World Diabetes Day? It is November 14. You may be heard November 14 is mentioned as Children's Day, isn't it? So similarly, World Health Organization, it is, according to them, it is observed as a World Diabetes Day. So what is the purpose of this World Diabetes Day? In order to create awareness among people. Okay, in order to create awareness among people, that is about the conditions associated with diabetes, what are the symptoms, what are the after effects of diabetes. In order to create awareness among people, okay, it is generally considered as a, number 14 is generally considered as a World Diabetes Day. So this is about our first gland. What is it? Pancreas. So what are the hormones secreted by pancreas? So there are two hormones, that is insulin and glucagon. And what are the functions performed by them, that you have to study. Now let us move to our second hormone. Now let us move to our second topic, that is our second endocrine glands. You may be heard about thyroid gland. Thyroid gland. Have you heard about thyroid gland? Where it is present? It is usually present in our neck region. That is in front of our neck. In front of our neck, thyroid gland is present. Okay, where it is present? It is present in front of our neck. That is below the region generally called as Adam's apple. Okay, this region. Okay, this region, it is usually projected out. That region is called Adam's apple, and below the Adam's apple, that is in front of our neck, our thyroid gland is present. So it is a very important gland. It is very important gland in cellular metabolic activity. Cellular metabolic activity. Okay, it will control cellular metabolism or our different metabolic processes that are taking place in our body. Okay, what is metabolism? You may be knowing it. What is metabolism? The breakdown and synthesis process. Breakdown and synthesis process taking place in our body. It is called metabolism. Okay, so it is a thyroid gland. It is a very important gland. It will control cellular metabolism or different metabolic activities that are taking place in our body. So it is a very, very important gland. Where it is present? It is present in front of our neck or below the region of Adam's apple. Then it is a bilobed structure. That is, two lobes are present. Bilobed structure. It has a bilobed structure. So what are the hormones produced by thyroid gland? So there are two hormones produced by thyroid gland. First hormone is called thyroxine and second one is called calcitonin. Okay, so there are two hormones produced by thyroid gland. What are they? First one is called thyroxine and second one is called calcitonin. Then have you heard about thyroid test? You may be heard about thyroid test. What is it? Thyroid test. Suppose if you visit any doctor or any laboratory, they will suggest test for thyroid function. Okay. Have you done any thyroid test? In laboratory report, you can see the components, that is thyroid hormone T3, then T4 and TSH. It will be available in your laboratory report. So what is it? T3, T4, TSH. It represents the amount of thyroid hormones. To represent the quantity of thyroid hormones in blood. Usually blood test is suggested by doctor in order to check whether thyroid gland is working properly or is there any disorders associated with the thyroid gland. So in order to understand that, thyroid test is usually suggested by doctor. So in your laboratory report you can see the amount of T3, then T4 and TSH. Okay, that is usually tested using your blood sample. Okay, that is there. Now let us move to our topic. So there are two hormones. What are they? First hormone is called thyroxine and second hormone is called calcitonin. So what are the functions of thyroxine? That you have to study. What are the functions of thyroxine? It increases energy metabolism. First you can write increases energy metabolism. Energy metabolism. Increases energy metabolism. So first function you can write increases energy metabolism. Then second point you can write it increases rate of metabolism. Increases rate of metabolism. Rate of metabolism. That is the second function of thyroxine. Then in the case of third function, it accelerates growth of brain tissues. Growth of brain tissues, that is mainly in fetus or infants. Okay. In the case of brain development, that is in fetus, embryonic development. Okay, thyroxine is very important. Then growth and development of fourth function, growth and development of children. Okay, growth and development of children, that is both cellular development, muscular development and physical development. So what are the functions performed by thyroxine that we are discussing here? What's the first function? It increases energy metabolism. Okay. In the first topic itself, we mentioned that it is a very important gland related to metabolism. What is metabolism? The breakdown and synthesis process taking place in our body. So what are the functions performed by thyroxine that we are discussing? Okay, what are the functions? First function you can write there, increases energy metabolism. Okay. So it is a very important hormone related to energy and different functions associated with each glands and cellular activities. So there is a lot of energy is required. So in order to produce energy, it increases energy metabolic rate. Okay, in order to stabilize our body functions. Then the second function you can write there, increases rate of metabolism. All the cellular metabolic rate is increased by this hormone thyroxine. And third function, in the case of fetus, that is embryonic development inside the womb of mother, child or fetal development. That is mainly, it is mentioned here, brain development. Tissues of brain development is performed by or supported by thyroxine gland. Thyroxine hormone. Then fourth function, growth and development of children. Okay, both muscular development, brain development and different physical development is supported by our hormone thyroxine. So it is a very important hormone related to children and infants. For fetal development, it is supported by thyroxine. Then our second hormone, that is called calcitonin. So there are two major hormones secreted by thyroid gland. First one is called thyroxine and second one is called calcitonin. It performs mainly one major function, that is regulation of calcium level. Regulation of calcium level in blood. Regulation of calcium level in blood. It is a main function of calcitonin. Okay, regulation of calcium level in blood. So there are some disorders associated with thyroid gland or thyroxine. Next we have to discuss about it. Okay, what are the disorders associated with the thyroxine, hormone thyroxine, that we can discuss now. Similarly, in the case of insulin, we already discussed there is a disorder. What is it? Diabetes, isn't it? There are two types of diabetes. So there are some disorders associated with our pancreas gland. Here also we have to study some disorders associated with the thyroid gland. So what are they? So first one, you can write hypothyroidism. First one, it is called hypothyroidism, and second one is called hyperthyroidism. Hyperthyroidism. Okay, there are two types of thyroid gland disorders. So first one is called hypothyroidism and second one is called hyperthyroidism. So what is hypothyroidism? Hypo means what? Decreased production of hormone thyroxine. Decreased production of hormone thyroxine. Okay, so there is a decreased production of thyroxine hormone. If there is a decreased production of thyroxine hormone, it will leads to a disorder called hypothyroidism. Hypo means what? Lower. Okay, decreases the quantity of thyroxine. Hyper means what? There is an increased level of thyroxine in our blood. Okay, that is increased level of thyroxine. Increased level of thyroxine in blood leads to a condition known as hyperthyroidism. In the case of hypothyroidism, we can classify into two types. Okay, hypothyroidism can be classified into two types. First one is called cretinism. First one is called cretinism. That is usually in the case of infants or children. Okay, in the case of children, a disorder known as cretinism, and in the case of adult, it is called myxedema. It is called myxedema. Okay, there are two types of disorders. That is hypothyroidism can be classified into two types. Cretinism, that is usually in youngsters or children. It is usually in children. Then myxedema, it is a disorder present in adult. These are due to decreased production of thyroxine. So what are the symptoms or general problems associated with the cretinism patient? So what are the general problems? It is characterized by low physical development, low physical development and low mental development. Low physical development and low mental development. Okay, cretinism, it is usually present in youngsters, that is mainly in children. It is associated with low physical development and low mental development. Then there is another disorder, it is called myxedema. It is usually present in adult, that is decreased production of thyroxine in adult leads to a condition known as myxedema. So what are the general symptoms of myxedema? Here also you can write low metabolism. Low metabolism is there. Then there is a hypertension. Okay, blood pressure increases. Hypertension is there. Then there is weight of body increases. Okay, body weight increases rapidly. Okay, then there are some other problems associated with this myxedema. Okay, what is myxedema? It is a condition present in adult. It is due to decreased production of thyroxine. So what are the symptoms? There is a low metabolic rate, then hypertension is there, then weight of individual increases rapidly. So these are some problems associated with our thyroxine hormone, that is decreased production of thyroxine. Then there are some other disorders. It is called hyperthyroidism. hyperthyroidism. What's the reason behind it? It is mainly due to increased production of thyroxine. Increased production of thyroxine leads to a disorder known as hyperthyroidism. So what are the symptoms? Here you wrote low metabolism. Here what we have to write? That is rate of metabolism increases. Here you can write increased metabolic rate. Increased metabolic rate. Okay, first point you can write increased metabolic rate. Here also there is a weight loss is there. Weight loss is present in the case of hyperthyroidism. Weight loss is present. Then rise in body temperature. There is a temperature increase, rise in body temperature. Body temperature is also mentioned in your syllabus. Okay, so what are the symptoms of hyperthyroidism? There is increased metabolic rate, then body weight increases, then you can write weight loss is there, then these patients shows excessive sweating. Excessive sweating is present in the case of hyperthyroid patient. Okay, so what are the symptoms of hypothyroidism? What are they? There are around 4 to 5 symptoms. The major symptoms are increased metabolic rate. First one, increased metabolic rate, and second one, weight loss is there, and third one is called rise in body temperature, and fourth one, excess sweating. So these are the problems associated with hyperthyroidism. So thyroid disorders are of two types, hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. Then you may be heard about some other disorders. For example, there is another disorder. It is called goiter. Have you heard about goiter? It is a iodine deficiency disease. You may be heard about the iodine deficiency disease. Actually, this iodine is required for synthesis of thyroxine. Okay, thyroid synthesis requires iodine. So due to the lack or decreased amount of iodine in our blood, it leads to a condition known as goiter. So as a result, there is a block in production of thyroxine. Okay, there is a block in production of thyroxine. It is due to deficiency of iodine. Actually, this iodine is required for synthesis of thyroxine. Then only thyroid gland perform well. So due to lack of iodine, what happens? The block of thyroxine production occurs. As a result, the thyroid gland swells. Thyroid gland swells and its size enlarges. Okay, that enlarged condition is known as goiter. In the case of goiter patient, you can see that neck region is usually little bulged out. Okay, it is due to a deficiency known as actually it is an iodine deficiency. It is associated with the thyroid gland. How it is associated with the thyroid gland? Because for the production of thyroxine, iodine is very essential. Now let us discuss what is the normal level of calcium. Okay, normal level of calcium in our blood. Okay, there are two hormones produced by thyroid gland. What are they? First one is called thyroxine. Then second hormone is called calcitonin. What is the function of calcitonin? That we already discussed. Regulate blood calcium level. Regulate blood calcium level. That is the function of our calcitonin. Okay, to regulate blood calcium level. Usually, what is the normal range of blood calcium level? That is 9 to 11 milligram per 100 ml of blood. Okay, if you take 100 ml of blood, you will get 9 to 11 milligram of calcium. Okay, so there is a calcium balance in our body. It is performed by a hormone known as calcitonin. Who secretes this hormone? It is secreted by our thyroid gland. How this calcium level is maintained or balanced, that we have to discuss. Actually, this thyroid gland cannot perform this function alone. So it requires a help from another gland, that is called parathyroid gland. It is called parathyroid gland. So there is another gland. It supports the functioning of thyroid gland, that is maintaining balanced state of our blood calcium level. So blood calcium level balance is performed by both the parathyroid gland as well as thyroid gland. Okay, where it is present, parathyroid gland? It is present behind the thyroid gland. Okay, thyroid gland we already discussed. What it is present? It is present in front of our neck region, that is below the Adam's apple region. Okay, similarly parathyroid gland also helps in the functioning of a hormone called calcitonin. It is secreted by thyroxine. Parathyroid gland is present behind the thyroid gland. So it secretes a hormone called parathormone. Okay, what is the hormone name? It is called a parathormone. It is secreted by which gland? Parathyroid gland. Okay, so blood calcium level balance is performed by two glands. Okay, first one parathyroid gland and second one is called thyroid gland. Main function is performed by a hormone called calcitonin. It is secreted by our thyroid gland. Okay, now there is a chart here. You can see this. Can you see this? That is how it is performed. Okay, blood calcium level, how it is maintained or balanced in our body, that we have to study. So first you can read, what is it? Blood calcium level increases. Suppose, so there are two situations. Blood calcium level increases. First situation, what is it? Blood calcium level increases. If blood calcium level increases, what happens? Thyroid gland secrete. Okay, there is an arrow mark. Thyroid gland secrete a hormone called calcitonin. Then what are the functions performed by this calcitonin? Can you read this? What are the functions? Prevent mixing of calcium to blood. Then second function, store excess calcium to bone. Okay, so actually there is a increase in blood calcium level. If there is an increase in calcium level in blood, so thyroid gland will produce a hormone called calcitonin. So calcitonin, it prevents mixing of calcium to blood. So then only blood calcium level increases. So it reduces mixing of calcium to blood. That is the first way. In second method, it stores excess calcium to bone. Okay, so you may be heard calcium is very essential for strength of our bones and different structures or skeletal system. Okay, so excess calcium level with the help of calcitonin hormone, it is stored in bones. So similarly, it reduces blood calcium level. Or there will be a balanced state. What is the balanced state? That is 9 milligram to 11 milligram per 100 ml of blood. That is the normal rate of our blood calcium level. Now the second situation. What is the second situation? Blood calcium level decreases. If blood calcium level decreases, what happens? There is another gland. What is it? Parathyroid gland. Parathyroid gland. It secretes a hormone called parathormone. That is the second case we are discussing. What is the second case? Blood calcium level decreases. If blood calcium level decreases, what happens? Parathyroid gland produces a hormone called parathormone. Then similarly calcitonin, it also performs some functions in order to maintain the balanced state of blood calcium level. So what are the functions performed by parathormone? First function, reabsorbs calcium from kidney. That is, situation is decreased blood calcium level. So parathormone will reabsorb. Reabsorb means what? It absorbs back. Okay, reabsorbs back. That is mainly from kidney. Okay, calcium ions are reabsorbed back to blood. That is first way. So similarly, it increases the blood calcium level to our minimum limit. Then second way, prevent calcium storage. Okay, we already discussed there is a calcium storage in bone and skeletal system and all. So calcium storage is prevented. So similarly, here also what happens? The excess calcium will move to blood. So blood calcium level increases. So there are two functions performed by calcitonin and parathyroid gland. So these are the topics related to thyroid gland. This much only we are discussing today. Okay, we will continue with the new topic in the next class. So what are the topics we discussed here? What is endocrine gland? Then what are the hormones secreted by gland? What are hormones that we also discussed? Then our first endocrine gland, what is it? It is pancreas. Then what are the hormones secreted by pancreas? Then what are the disorders related to pancreas? Then second one, thyroid gland. What are the hormones secreted by thyroid gland? Then what are the disorders associated with the thyroid gland? This much we discussed today. Okay, this much you have to write in your notebook. You have to write the gland, what is endocrine system. First you have to write. Then what are the parts of endocrine system? Then different endocrine glands. You put a number. Then what are the hormones produced by this endocrine gland? Then what are the functions related to them? Then some disorders associated with the endocrine gland. So this much is about today's class. We will meet next day.